Everybody definitely wants to be loved. Having a caring and loving family is the subconscious desire every person thirsts for. Yet the trajectory of anyone's life can change in a fraction of time. The Sandberg family wanted to adopt the baby and enlisted the help of a local lawyer to do it. But when they saw their adopted daughter, Angelique Kimberly Smith, is African American, they refused to take care of her and gave the girl back after a short period of time. Then they decided to proceed with the adoption of another child, a Caucasian girl. 50 years later, out of the blue, Smith met with her original adopted father. Her reaction was unbelievable. In the mid-1950s, Marge and Len Sandberg had moved to the Chicago suburb of Deerfield. Before that, they had already adopted 2 sons. Most citizens of this tiny suburb were college graduates, but despite it, they all featured a less than wholesome mindset. Racial tensions were spreading through the town. In 1959, Progress Development Corporation of Chicago decided to build 51 new homes in their area. Some of those homes were promised to African American families. Unequivocally, many of the natives were furious about such a decision and clearly showed their dissatisfaction. During the building process, protesters placed a burning cross on the front lawn of a resident, giving support to racial integration. 2 of the built homes were vandalized. One minister in town favored the proposal. In return, he got a letter from a dissatisfied member of the town, which was filled with racial phrases. Marge Sandberg did her best as a citizen to help finish these developments. She joined a group aimed at supporting the project, but the government took control of the area and constructed a park there instead of the homes. 3 years later, the Sandbergs came up with a decision to adopt a daughter. The lawyer helped them find a baby, which was planned to be adopted shortly after she was born. The couple wanted to name her Rebecca. However, they were in shock when they saw her for the first time. Angelique Kimberly Smith was born on April 19, 1962. Her biological parents decided to give her up for adoption. When the Sandbergs, who were Caucasian, saw their new baby, they were baffled by her appearance. The girl was indeed African American. Len Sandberg seriously fretted about this situation. Due to the racial tensions in town, he was convinced bringing up an African American baby may cause his family and the girl herself various problems. He was literally afraid of people's reactions. Thus, the man decided to take no part in raising the child. He showed this attitude to his wife at the time. I said at that point that I wasn't going to go forward with it. I thought, my God, how are you going to raise a child in this neighborhood with the way people are feeling about this thing? It just wouldn't have been great for her. Marge Sandberg had a different point of view. She wanted to keep the baby and was upset when her husband denied doing so. She even asked for the help of a local pastor to try to convince Len, but to no avail, the man didn't agree. In a while, the family returned Angelique. Marge was devastated. A few months later, the married couple adopted a Caucasian girl named Amy. When the girl was 8, her brother randomly slipped the secret about Angelique during playing football. That's how the girl asked her mother about Angelique and found out everything. It was the only time when the family spoke about the African American girl. Luckily, Angelique was readopted by a loving and caring family from the south side of Chicago. Harry and Ruth Smith were amazing parents to their new daughter. Angelique was raised in a nice neighborhood while visiting a private school. Amy was so lucky enough to have a loving family. She reaped many benefits from the suburban perks and often took leisurely trips out of the country. Money was not an issue for both girls. However, despite all the positive things, both of the girls' lives turned in a darker direction. Angelique's father passed away when the girl was only 8. Angelique left Chicago for Los Angeles, even though her relationships with her mother and neighbors were stable. There, she got addicted to cocaine, which led to a jail sentence for burglary and a period of homelessness. The girl gave birth to 4 children, and 2 of them were born whilst she was living on the streets. Unfortunately, the government terminated her parental rights for all 4. At that period of her life, everything couldn't have been more depressing for the young woman. Even though Amy lived in a rich family and had a lavish living style, she was sexually abused by a family member at a young age. When she was 10, her parents got divorced. Her mother, Marge, became an alcoholic, and the relationship between Amy and Len quickly got worse. Fortunately, both girls were strong and determined enough to overcome all the difficulties and turn their lives around for the better. Amy graduated from George Washington University. Now, she works as a freelance journalist, a press aide on Capitol Hill, a university administrator, and a grant writer for nonprofit organizations. Angelique got 2 degrees in counseling and managed to rekindle relationships with her children. One day, suddenly, she received a strange phone call from a woman called Amy. Despite all the racial overtones running through the United States, Amy decided to reach out to the woman she had heard about when being a child. She was captivated by the idea to get to know Angelique. Thus, Amy carefully sifted through birth and adoption records and finally found Angelique's phone number. The 2 women spoke over the phone for years. They hit it off and became real friends. Moreover, Angelique didn't have any ill feelings towards Amy. Instead, she was happy to grow up in an African-American community rather than one with racially motivated violence. Thanks to deep conversations with Amy, Angelique decided to reach out to the man who returned her back 50 years ago. In 2015, Angelique and Len Sandberg met each other at a La Jolla, California restaurant. Angelique hugged the man instead of crying or yelling at him. Later, she said, "I don't know if Sandberg's battled with this through the years, but he did the right thing. I watched 50 years worth of guilt and shame roll off of him." Racial issues are a truly complicated ordeal. Once you have touched this delicate subject, it's best to behave in a tolerant manner. Angelique, Amy, and Len have learned their lessons from this situation, and everything ended up in a positive way.